happened?
What did you do? Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. This side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. I have no idea what just happened.
Hey, you know what just happened?
What was that?
You know, the difference between our Snow the Goalie podcast earlier today in the studio and the Press Row Show here live on the balcony level of the Wells Fargo Center. You know what the difference is?
That guy.
Yes.
That guy. Who we love tremendously, let me tell you. He's a great guy. Did he center the camera tonight? I don't know. But welcome in to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show, the side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator.
You know who feels like
west of the 51st state, Greenland, and south of the 52nd state, Canada. And
you know who feels like they're in Greenland and Canada right now?
Is the Panama Canal going to be the 53rd state?
What about the Gulf of America?
North
of the Gulf of America?
Yeah. You know who's north of the Gulf of America but getting weather like it's in Canada or Greenland?
Texas. Florida?
That would be right. Our friend Allison, who tracks all of the picks for all of our voters, all our people.
Houston.
She's in Houston, and she's got like a bunch of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. Has anybody made the Trump joke yet about Greenland? Like, he wants to rename everything, right? He wants to rename the Gulf of America, right?
Yeah.
How have we not gotten to, and we're going to go and we're going to talk to Denmark and we're going to rename it Red, White, and Blue Land. Red, White, and Blue Land. How has that not happened yet?
That's a good one, actually, Russ. That may happen.
Anyway.
But for the people who think I'm encroaching on Russ's space, quite the contrary.
No, that's not true. There are 4 desks. Why do we have 4 tables up here tonight?
We have 5.
1, 2,
5 tables.
What is happening?
I'm sitting at table 3, which would be the middle.
Well, I had to encroach on your space because the intern didn't center the camera. And now Bundy's way over there.
Boy, Andrew's having a rough
He is
night.
having you know what? This is what happens when we don't do the Press Row Show for about a week. The poor guy gets rusty. But you know who's not rusty? Us. Because if you didn't know, we did a new episode of Snow the Goalie live from the Snow the Goalie studio here at Wells Fargo Center this morning. You can go find that wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And
that's going to be a regular thing now, right? We should tell everybody that
every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the plan is 10:30 a.m. is supposed to be the start time. We pushed it back this morning because Danny Briere met with the media, and he had his State of the Team address for the midway point of the season. And we're going to get to that. As you may have noticed, Bundy is here. He's here with us pregame, intermissions, and postgame. And who will be joining us during the first intermission, Anthony SanFilippo?
It'll be that Glenn Macnow.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, from WIP Radio. Glenn retired earlier in 24. I guess it was in July, I think, of 24 that he officially retired after a lengthy career in the media in Philadelphia. Obviously, Keith Jones was a friend of his because they worked together at WIP. And Jonesy decided to have like a little bit of a night, to honor Glenn. Gave him and his family a suite down here. They're going to do a little tribute to him on the screen at some point during the game, maybe pregame. I'm not sure when it is, but we're going to have Glenn up here at first intermission. So it'll be a nice little opportunity for us to say goodbye to Glenn.
It'll be the first time I've seen Glenn since your wedding.
Glenn was at my wedding. That's right.
Yes.
As were you guys.
Yeah.
Bundy, I wanted to bring you into this because you are so distant. You're so far away relative to how close I have to be to Ant because of the intern's positioning of the camera. How are you feeling about tonight's game? The Red Wings come to town, a very up and down team.
Like Anthony, we were talking beforehand. They have no idea who they are. They can play really well, or they could just be god awful, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
I mean, and they've like he said, they got blown out by Tampa and Dallas their last 2 games. They went down to Florida. They beat Florida.
That was after getting blown out at home by the Sharks.
And then they won 7 in a row before that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy, but again, I think the way the Flyers are playing, I'm all about the way the Flyers are playing right now.
Yeah.
And if they can keep playing that way, they're going to be hard to beat. Especially with playing against a team like Detroit.
Yeah, the last time Detroit was here, they were terrible.
Oh, they were so bad.
They were really bad. That was one of the worst games of the year. The Flyers weren't great in that game either. They won, but it was not.
There's been 3 really bad games here this year. Chicago, Detroit, and Anaheim. In terms of the actual play of the game.
Yeah.
But the Detroit game, like Anaheim, they had no life, and it was a great night to watch them blow that team and cut her off the ice.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual play of the game, those are the 3 toughest games I've seen this year.
Yeah, but after that, Detroit got on a little bit of a roll and played some good hockey coming out of the holidays. But yeah, The last 4 have been weird. You don't get blown out at home by the Sharks.
No one does that.
Like, that's bad. But then the next game, you go and defeat the defending Cup champs on their home ice in Florida, which is not easy to do. And then you get your doors blown off by 2 pretty good teams back to back right after that. So, and we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting team. All that said, and Flyers played great in New Jersey, right? Really good defensive game. They've been playing good hockey for about 15 games now. And with Detroit being all over the place, I don't think this is a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this will be a fight here tonight. Desperate teams for points and understanding that where both teams are in their standings, how important 2 points is in games like this. Now, the early season part where you can kind of float in and float out of games is over. Every game now is like a playoff game. And it used to happen with about 20, 25 games to go. Not anymore. The race has already begun. It's in full steam ahead.
Yeah, and I do think that there will be even one more ramp up. It'll be right after the break in February, because everybody will be rested. I think after that 2-week break that you get coming up for the silly tournament.
You didn't call it silly this morning. You called it a different adjective.
Yeah, because that was Snow the goalie.
No, you called it stupid.
Oh, it is stupid.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest things the NHL has ever done.
Ever.
And there's been some dumb things they've done.
Yeah.
Hey, at least Sal Ovechkin's going to be able to pick up some goals there. Oh, wait!
No.
Oh, wait, he won't.
No Russian.
Because why would you include one of the best, nations in the world when it comes to hockey? Why would you ever do that?
Or the Czechs. Or the Slovaks.
Or you can combine them like the Soviet Union once did to make Team Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
Yeah? No. They didn't do that.
Nope. No, none of
the
that.
The shortest month also
Anyway,
gets the lightest schedule.
But Bundy is right. Like I do think that they're at another level right now. Like, games have ramped up already.
Yeah.
I just think that there's going to be that one more step that it takes for that final push. But yeah, I mean, that's it's going to be an interesting game. Well, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys tonight. We didn't talk about this on the Snow the Goalie episode, so this is something new for Press Row. Have in your minds, has Travis Konecny's season so far this year make you think that he's taken that next step in the elevation into one of the top players in the sport?
He's certainly in there. He'll never be mentioned with the elites, and there's a group of elites.
Yeah.
He may even have more points right now than some of the elites.
Yes.
Like, if you told me right now I'll trade you to Travis Konecny for Elias Pettersson, what would you do with that?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Okay. Yeah, I know. There's people.
I would.
No,
he's having a really down year, Pettersson, but Konecny's having a great year. It's an interesting one, though.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, of course, center is more important than wing. I get that, right? But there's also something to be said about a guy who's got an issue with his own teammates.
There is,
right? Like, that's a problem. Like, if you can't get along with the guys that you're playing with on your team, what's to make you say that that's the kind of player you want in your locker room? I'd rather take a Konecny over that any day.
And I'm not saying that that's a proposal, or I'm just saying, but if you're talking about world-class skill, he's not one of those guys in that elite group of NHLers where you're talking about McDavid and McKinnon.
No. He's
and
not
those
that
guys
level.
in Draisaitl. He'll never get to that. But in terms of what he's done, it's been an incredibly blessed season for Travis Konecny. He's done a lot of great things.
I think he's gotten to that next tier down, though. I think that you have your elite players, and then you have your next level of really high talent.
You got to do it for me, though, over time.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a long contract starting.
Yeah.
And once you start getting over a point a game, then you can start talking about it. There's been players that have been player of games for 1 year, and they never got back to that level again. So I want to see. There's got to be a level of consistency we're watching. Does he keep climbing the standings? He has this year. He's going to go way past what his former previous totals were.
Yeah. Now,
I mean,
Russ?
I think the reason that I still would probably lean Pettersson is just because of the position and the fact that he has a 100-point season under his belt. And age-wise, I believe is a year, 2 years younger than Konecny.
He's younger, yeah.
I mean, that's never going to happen. That's not going to be a proposal on the table. Now, I thought what your question was going to be is, has Travis Konecny lived up to the hype of the contract?
Well, that he has.
In terms of years and in terms of AAV, he has.
Yeah.
I mean, he has far exceeded expectations. I would say that he's even exceeded expectations, if we're being fair. I mean, is he still on track for 40? He'll be close to 40 goals. He has a shot. Like
I think unless somebody passed him last night, I think he's still top 10 in the league in scoring. Like, that's pretty impressive, especially on a team that struggles to score.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if this offense was, even just a good, doesn't have to be great offense, even if it was just a good offense.
Yeah.
Where would Travis Konecny be on the point sheet? Like, would he have, another 6, 7, 8 points? I think maybe it's possible. So
I don't think you're wrong.
I think he's had a really, really great start, and I don't think he's been appreciated enough. Not just on this show. I mean, I think just in general in the media.
Yeah, he's had a great year.
Yeah.
I know the fans are a lot of fans still kind of hold their breath on him, like where they're waiting, but he keeps performing like he is. There's not going to be many questions left to have to answer. He's just had an absolutely dynamic season and easily the best player on the team.
Yeah. So people are asking about the goaltending matchup earlier. It's Sam Urson for the Flyers tonight against former Flyer Alex Lyon in net for the Red Wings. I don't know if there's really an advantage one way or the other there, Bundy. I think that they're kind of on the same plane.
It's Alex Lyons for them tonight?
Yeah, Lyons for them tonight. And we mentioned on Snow the Goalie, but it's been out there. Scott Lawton will not be in the lineup tonight. He has a personal matter, family related. Won't be in. So they recalled Rodrigo Abols, who will make his NHL debut.
Any scouting report on him, Ant?
I got nothing for
Good,
you.
me neither.
I got nothing.
So we'll watch him in the first. We'll give you the scouting report
He's a center. He's a center. That's all I know. He's going to play fourth line center with Ollie Lixel and Garnet Hathaway. That's your fourth line tonight. So that's if anything, if you look at it and say, it's probably a line that the Torts is not going to have a lot of confidence in giving a regular turn through the rotation tonight. So you might be seeing a little bit of taxing to the first three lines against Detroit. So if Detroit can roll that fourth line, they might have a little bit more energy at the end of the game. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, and in Detroit, you just don't know who's coming tonight. That's the thing with Detroit. I tell you, I think this is going to be a tight hockey game. I have a feeling it's going to be, but Detroit, the last time they were here, they did not show up, and the Flyers pounced to victory.
A lot of people in the comments seem to believe that the Flyers are going to have themselves a nice night. Just saw a 5-1 prediction coming through. We had a 4-3 prediction coming through before that.
Yeah, this is what happens when any team in this town starts playing well for a little bit, right?
Sorry.
That's all good.
We're going to hear that about 15 times tonight.
No, it's going to happen, of course. But I mean, anytime a team starts playing well, everybody gets a little puffy chested, a little swole, as the old heads used to say, right? A little swole.
I boycott.
He's boycotted.
Who, Russ?
Yeah, because I said the word swole.
What word?
Swole. I got a little swole. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'm not surprised that the fans in the chat are thinking the Flyers are going to win tonight. I'm probably going to pick the Flyers, but I think it's going to be a really tight game. I do. I don't think this is an easy win by any stretch.
I agree with Anthony, and I will be, when we do our picks, so far as I sit right now, leaning towards the Flyers in this game. Haven't yet made up my mind fully, but that's where I'm leaning. I can't get the bad taste of Detroit out of my mouth from the last time they were here in Philadelphia.
We talked about it this morning, but for those who might have missed it, we were just talking about goalies a little bit ago. The news that came in net. Erson's in net tonight, but the news that Torts made, they've changed something on the depth chart.
Yes, you announced that yesterday that Fedotov is your new number 2, and Kolosov is now number 3. So a little flip-flop there between the Russian and the Belarusian.
See how quickly things change, Russ, when you're performing?
Don't forget, Iron Giant shirts are available at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Listen,
get him before he goes back to the KHL.
Stop. Listen, Ivan Fedotov has earned what do we always talk about? Meritocracy with this team.
Yeah.
You earn the minutes that you get. You earn your playing time, or at least you're supposed to. Fedotov has been very good since being back in the lineup, given some actual opportunities, a little bit of somewhat consistent play. He has looked every bit like an NHL backup. Alexei Kolosov, maybe not so much. Without giving away too much, because we obviously want people to go back and listen to the show from earlier today. And you think that they're going to roll 3 goalies here for a good long while?
I don't. I think it gets you through to the end of the month, just to kind of make sure that Erson's healthy, and Fedotov gives you maybe another good game, another good start. Like they probably want to see that, and then I think you're going to find that Kolosov will be sent back down at that point.
Will he take the full reins, you think, in the minors? I guess he will, won't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely would be the number 1 guy down there. So
I'm seeing some comments, by the way, over on the stream, including this one from Tony Louie, longtime listener of the show, who says the Briere press conference was a bit concerning, honestly. It almost sounded like he was trying to sell us on the idea of doing nothing is always the best move, excuses for not making moves. I bring this up because I've been monitoring, not only the live chat that we had on the show earlier today, but the comments after the fact. That were not part of the live chat, just people who went back and checked the episode out after we were done. And I have to tell you that Tony's thought on that, Tony's interpretation of the press conference today, is probably what 2 in every 3 fans would say coming out of it. Now that we've had some more time to kind of digest the press conference, do either of you feel any differently than you did this morning about what Danny had to say, which doesn't sound like #man of action, kind of sounds like man of, waiting and seeing if anything pops up at the deadline?
No. I honestly don't think Danny said anything today. I really felt it was a nothing burger of a press conference. I really don't. I don't think he said anything one way or the other because the team, it's not determined where they are right now. See, here's the thing, and we talked about this before. They've won, 4 in a row now, right? Points in 5 straight, whatever it is. And they're still 4 points out of a playoff spot. Which is, they were 5 points out when that started?
Yeah.
They picked up 1 point doing all that good. So, you can play really well and not gain any ground. That's just the way it works in this sport.
The worst is when you're playing really well and then you lose 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Because it's easier to go down in the standings than it is to come up in the standings.
It is. And like the Flyers last year, we said, when you're in, it's hard to get out. Except the Flyers were in last year and they did fall out. But you can't finish the year the way they finished last year and expect to make the playoffs either.
Right. And so I think we're still at I think Danny's kind of in a holding pattern. Look, he's talking to everybody. He's talking to everybody about their players. He's talking to the other team's players. He's talking to everybody about his own players. Teams are calling him. He
did say that teams have called about
on Risto, and I would tell you that teams are interested in Farabee, teams are interested in Frost, teams are interested in Lawton. And then Danny even said he's called about players that he knows are not available, just to ask and just to see. And that's due diligence, right? That's what you should do, right? To talk, figure out and see, and you put a little bit of a plan together. They'll probably have pro scouting meetings sometime in February to kind of look at, all right, you guys have been out watching these guys. What do you think? What are you seeing? Et cetera, et cetera. And then you try and make moves. But as we always point out, the deadline, the majority of trades at the trade deadline are rentals. Yeah. Sometimes guys get moved that have term left. I'm not saying it never happens. It certainly does. But the majority of moves at the deadline are rentals. So if you're not trading a guy who's still got term left on his contract at the deadline, that's not necessarily inaction. It's just delayed action. I know
I didn't roll my eyes.
No, but you raised your lip.
I did this. I flared the nose.
Yeah, you flared the nose. That's what you did. It's because it's different.
I agree with Andrew Fawcett's comment here, guys.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying this morning. It's like an odd situation. If you trade Risto, then you're going to spend the next little bit of time trying to find a Risto.
Yeah, and that's the tough call. And that's why I think that's the hardest decision of any of them, right? I would try and trade Lawton at this point because you have his replacement in Noah Cates. So I would replace Lawton, right? I don't necessarily know where I'm at on Ristolainen because he's certainly a guy who can help this team next year, as well as he's a guy who can get you something in return this year at the deadline. So you got to make a decision what the value is. What do you value more at this juncture? And I think that's a tough call.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Anthony. I really couldn't. It's there's a lot of tough things that they got to look at,
Yeah. I don't think you disagree with that, do you? That it's a tough call.
I think it's a tougher call now, but I think now, and we talked about this on the show earlier today, but last year you probably would have had to take on bad salary back, or you probably would have had to attach something. You would have had to eat some Risto contract to move him. And I don't think you have to now. I think it just really comes back to what your timeline is. You know, I think it really does come down to, are you willing to go through the pain of not being a good team for another year? And if so, then you should probably trade Risto. But if your idea is, hey, we think that we're a move away from being a middle-of-the-pack team in a year, well, then you have to consider keeping him. You know, my big point, I've been very consistent here. Like, I think that in year 2 of the rebuild, the focus should be, how do we get to the top 5? How do we get somewhere in striking distance of that, even with a little bit of lottery luck? How do we get a top 5 pick? There are multiple centers that could maybe become a 1C for you. We talked about that earlier as well.
If you want one of those picks, then go be San Jose or Chicago. Seriously. That's how you get one of those picks.
But they won't do that, and Tortorella's Tortorella raises the floor.
We've been talking about this for 3 years.
Yeah.
They're not doing that. That's not the plan of action, because they're going to ask guys to compete and to try to move the needle forward no matter what the talent level looks like here. This is, as I said in the show earlier, where Torts has his team right now is his masterpiece. He's got this team playing to perfection right now. They're hard to play against. They clog up the middle of the ice. They've had opportunistic goals. This is what Torts does with teams that have lesser talent.
Yeah.
And he loves taking a team like this and making it better than what it shows.
Here's the one thing I got to say for fans, because I know, and this is, again, every sport, every fan is the same. Fans fall in love with prospects, right?
Sure.
They always fall in love with prospects. And we have this whole thing going on. I'm following the chat, and it's multiple people talking about, well, yeah, but you got Emil Andre coming back, and you got Oliver Bonk coming next year, and you got Helge Grans down in the AHL, and you got, Hunter McDonald. Danny mentioned him today in the press conference. You know, he's kind of turning it around. We don't know what any of these guys are.
I agree.
Right? And to sit there and suggest that you should dump the contracts that you have and just play these kids in the NHL and think that's going to progress a rebuild is not the way to go. You have to have it in segments. You have to figure out whether one guy at a time. You're not plugging 4 or 5 guys in. It just doesn't work that way. I could point out a dozen rebuild efforts that have failed trying to do that. And so you cannot do that in the NHL. It's different from other sports. I don't know why everyone has a hard time understanding that, but that's really what it comes down to. That's not to say that these young players can't develop into quality NHL players. They certainly can. They absolutely can. But you can't do it all at once. You can't throw 4 of your 6 defensemen as inexperienced defensemen and say, "Oh, you're going to
get them, boys.
You'll figure it out. Don't worry about it." Can't do that. That will fail. That's the thing.
I mean, in fairness, I think part of the reason that you maybe run into that little bit of a frustrating scenario where you don't have guys that are able to come up is because you have been drafting in middle of rounds for a considerable amount of time, and it's harder to land certain picks, especially in that first round, even the second round. Now, once you get into the third, fourth round, a lot of it is a crapshoot, and sometimes you do find a diamond in the rough. Chuck Fletcher once found Kaprizov, and what was it? Was it the 4th round, I think?
5th round.
5th round.
Yeah.
5th round was Kaprizov.
So, like, sometimes you are able to find those guys, but they're more of an anomaly. They're more of like a, more so than the rule of thumb. So, this team doesn't have an elite prospect pool. It just doesn't. I mean, it has some potentially useful pieces down the line, but if you look at Lehigh Valley, there aren't like 3 guys that are knocking on the door to make the team next year and be legitimate contributors. Arguably, the guy that they probably will look at trying to have the biggest impact next year is Luchenko, who won't even be coming from the A.
Well, you have 2 guys coming from London next year too. They might end up in the AHL. They may not make the NHL roster, but you do have 2 more prospects coming there.
Is that Bonk and Barkey?
Bonk and Barkey, right? Both coming from London. So you don't know.
Yeah.
What one of them looks like in the summer. Like, you never expect it, and then all of a sudden one guy shows up at camp, and you're like, oh wow, we're going to give this guy a shot.
Yeah.
And that happens. Those kinds of things happen. Look, I agree that their cupboard has been bare for a long time, and that's why the frustration is there. Like, fans want the team to be good. I get it. Right? And they've not been good for a long time.
Right.
And that's why you want to expedite this. Give this guy a chance. Give this guy a chance. Give this guy a chance. But the reality of it is, for the management team that's in place, they need to be given their opportunity to put it together. Look, if they fail this summer, if their draft is a miss, if they don't make the moves that they need to make, and they're kind of running this circus back again next year, then we can start to criticize. I think it's fair at that point that you're into year 3 and nothing new has happened. I think it's fair to say at that point, all right, Danny, what are you doing? But you got to give him an opportunity to get out from the disaster that was there beforehand.
Yeah, agreed.
I really do think that what people just want to see, and again, I hate the fact that we keep saying, like we said this earlier today, but like people are just kind of looking for Danny Briere's moment that he makes some kind of an impact move, and to this point it hasn't really happened. It doesn't mean...
I mean, the Provorov trade was pretty darn impactful.
Okay.
I mean, think about what it netted you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one.
It's more of an outgoing. I mean,
But it was one.
Don't know if I'd call that like the impactful move, but it's okay. It's a trade of a previously important and well-regarded player.
Yes.
I think my point is, like, I think people are looking for what is the move that's going to bring something in here or someone in here, and that hasn't happened. Whether it won't happen at the deadline, there's practically no chance they're going to bring an impact player in this season.
Correct.
It'll be more interesting to see if in the offseason are they able to go out and pry a 1C away from somebody or a potential 1C if they don't get that guy in the draft.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. You're that's fine, but to sit there and dismiss the Provorov trade is like, it was not a big deal. He got 2 first-round picks, in essence, because Walker became one.
Yeah.
And Helge Grans, who people now want to see in the lineup all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a great trade. Like,
It could be.
well, how could it be better? How could it have been better?
It's a great move off of an asset that you had no use for here anymore. Like, it's a good deal, but the players and the picks and everything have to turn into at or better value. You just don't know.
Of course, but that's what you keep asking for, right? You keep asking for them to have all these assets that they can do things with and make moves with.
And we'll see if they make the moves with them.
Okay, but they got them. So to sit there and say he hasn't made that trade, he has made that trade. That's what I'm trying to say. What's your pick for tonight?
Start that way. Intern?
Let's get the intern on the screen.
I will take the Flyers 3-2.
There he is.
Yeah, low scoring, huh? Yeah, I think it's a low scoring game.
3-2 Flyers. I've been picking the opposition a lot lately.
You have.
But I've come back around on the Flyers a little bit.
Okay.
Sam Emerson in net, though, is the problem.
Because you're only going to pick them when Fedotov
I'm
plays,
a big
right?
Fedotov believer.
You're
Always have been, always will be. I ride and die with the Iron Giant. However, I don't know. There's a small part of me that thinks there's a little bit of home cooking. Maybe I've been down here too long. Maybe I have Stockholm Syndrome because I've been here since like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Flyers tonight. I'm going to take the Flyers 4-2.
Okay. I think it's a higher scoring game tonight. Even though the Flyers have played really well defensively lately, I just think that this is one of those games where it's like you have games coming up, back-to-back coming up on the road, later this week against 2 division rivals. Those games matter a lot because those are 2 teams that you're in the – you're fighting with Detroit too. Not to say that this one doesn't matter, but there's just something about knowing what's ahead. And I think that this is one that could kind of catch them a little bit. I still think they win. I still think the Flyers win, but I think it's a higher scoring game. I'm going to go Flyers 5-4 in this one.
Wow. Well, I got to go I'm going to follow along those lines. I'm going to make it simple tonight. I'm going to go 4-3 Flyers.
Yeah. So we're all picking the Flyers. I can't tell you the last time we all picked the Flyers.
It happened the other night.
We all picked the Flyers?
I'm pretty sure the other night we did. I think it might have been against New Jersey.
No, I picked the Devils in that game.
You're right.
Was it the Islanders game?
I don't know. No, it was not the Islanders game. You know what? Didn't happen with the Blue Jackets game either. Didn't happen with the Panthers. That's right. I thought. Yeah, I swore that the other day.
Yeah, I don't think we've all picked the Flyers in a while.
The way they're playing right now, it's hard to pick against them. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I just think that tonight's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think tonight's a tough one.
Rob Ski with a 7-2 Flyers. Holy shit.
7, Rob.
Not even I do that.
Not even Russ goes that high. That's great. Oh, man, that's funny. That's funny.
Here, we're gonna throw this to you, Ant.
Yeah.
Baseball question: who's the numbskull who didn't vote for Ichiro?
I don't. You know, I gotta
always
tell
has to
you,
be one, right?
It does. And
Did Suzuki get in?
Ichiro? So the 3 guys who got in were Ichiro, Billy Wagner, and CC Sabathia. I'm perplexed.
Kurt Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame, right?
No, he's no longer
Barry
eligible.
Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
right?
but nobody's going to vote for him.
Roger
because of-
Clemens isn't in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
right?
that's all PED
CC
related.
Sabathia, get him.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I think that's a little bit of Yankee bias, to be honest. Like,
Billy Wagner? I know he had that gas, 100-mile-an-hour
Billy
fastball.
Wagner, I've struggled in my own head with Billy Wagner on whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not. I say no. Look, his numbers are great, right? His numbers are, if you compare him closer-wise, he's right up there with Mariano Rivera numbers-wise. They're that good. But Billy Wagner has thrown less innings now than any pitcher that's in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
He threw less than 1,000 innings. I don't know how you could sit there and say that somebody who threw that few innings deserves to be in the Hall.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I think he's a victim. In my mind, he got in. Congratulations, Billy Wagner. But in my mind, he should be a victim of the era that he was in because closers didn't throw as much in that stretch of time that he pitched. But I can't believe someone didn't vote for Ichiro. It's like the same guy who didn't vote for Jeter.
How is Schilling not available anymore?
10 years. You're on for 10 years after you retire.
That's it?
And then that's it. If you don't get in, you could get added in. There's that Veterans Committee that can add you in. There's a couple like Veterans Committees that can.
I would have thought Ichiro was out more than 10 years.
No, Ichiro's not. This is his first year eligible. He's only 5 years out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
The Baseball Hall of Fame's a joke.
look, I'm not in the Baseball Writers Association. And I think they sometimes take themselves a little too seriously. Because of what they want as far as for qualifications to be in, and then once you're in, you don't get to vote until after 10 years. Like, you have to show like this longevity of following the sport, but then once you do, you can vote forever. Like you have this like lifetime thing. You don't even cover the sport anymore, but you can vote.
Yeah.
You know, like almost like you. It's like this. It's like the mob. Like you've been a made man once you get in. Once you
Court.
BBWA. So anyway, we got Russell. We got 2 minutes here.
Oh, would you like me to vamp? Because I'm very good at that.
Yeah, I got to answer. My wife just texted me.
Why is your wife texting you?
I don't
What's
know.
happening?
She's here with.
Does she not know
She's here
that
at the
you're
game
doing
tonight.
the Press Row show, the
She's-
#1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show?
You'll see her at some point tonight. She'll be here.
Well, that's lovely. She's a wonderful person and a saint for dealing with you. Bundy,
Yes.
I know that I usually ask you a question similar to this, typically around the second intermission show. But after all, since you're not usually with us on pregame, I feel like it's apt to ask you the question. As the Philadelphia Flyers prepare to take the ice, what is the thing, the #1 thing that the Flyers need to do to get off to a strong start against this Detroit Red Wings squad?
Well, just for the sake of momentum, they want to get the puck in deep, at least get a forecheck established, try to cycle the zone. But if you're the Flyers in this game, I love the way that they've taken away the middle of the ice from these teams they're playing. Like, they've really, really clogged up the middle. If they can do that between the hash marks up and down the ice again tonight, they're going to find themselves in another situation to win a game. And it may be more than 4-3 for what I picked. It could be multiple goals. But again, I look at Detroit, like, I just don't know who they are. They're a little bit of like schizo in a lot of ways. No one knows who's coming at you. If they have a good night, this could be a real good, tight hockey game. If not, the Flyers do what they just said they could do. They could march off this ice with a big win.
If you had to pick one team to get out to a multi-goal lead first, who would it be?
A team?
Yeah.
Well, I would say the Flyers.
Because of the home cooking?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the way they're playing, yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think?
I would go Detroit.
Really?
Yeah, because the one thing about the Flyers is sometimes they get into those early lapses and they can kind of fall behind in a game. We know they're really good at coming back in games, right?
are.
Among the best in the league at doing that. So I think that if I had to pick that, it's a weird question, but if I had to pick a side, I'd probably pick Detroit as the possibility of getting out early, and then the Flyers fighting their way back and winning the game in the end.
Yeah.
You say it's a weird question, but I say it's a good way to spend the last 2 minutes as we get ready for Puck Drop. We will be back first intermission with Glenn Mack now, as well as second intermission and postgame. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Subscribe to Snow the Goalie on YouTube. You can also find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Go download today's episode of Snow the Goalie. You can listen to it, mute the TV, and listen to Snow the Goalie while watching the game. It's a great idea.
Who wants to listen to Jim Jackson, right?
Somebody does. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state, Greenland, south of the 52nd state, Canada. And guys, it has been a really wonderful joint practice tonight between the Flyers and the Red Wings.
That's what it felt like. But, the one thing I'll say, as bad as that period was from a hockey perspective,
I know what you're going to say.
at least it was fast.
It went by so fast.
At least it went.
It took 28 minutes of regular time
to play 20 minutes of hockey.
20 minutes of hockey, and they even missed a break because of it. They played right through one break. So
holy smokes,
I'll take that. Was a painful period of hockey.
I take everything back I said at the beginning of the game. I couldn't have been more wrong about this game tonight.
About it being a high-scoring affair?
I thought it was going to be a little bit more wide open, a little bit more, intensity in this game, because the game means something to both teams. And they just kind of lollygagged their way around the ice.
The only thing wide open was the space between the players instead of making hits. You know how they always made that joke in like middle school, high school, and you dance, you leave room for Jesus? Yeah. That's like all these guys. They get into the corners, nobody wants to lay a hand on each other. It's weird.
Yeah, it's odd. That looked like it was the Russian Red Army team playing Moscow Dynamo in 1975. There was more puck regrouping than I think you'll ever see in an NHL game.
Yeah.
That was a European throwback period.
Look, a lot of the fourth line. That was another thing. I kind of thought that the fourth line was not going to be used a ton, and Torts rolled them out there consistently. They got hemmed in that one shift. But other than that, it was just kind of like, okay, regular rotation. Just get those guys out there, let them play. It was just strange. It was just a weird period. Like, I don't know. I mean, for any, I know people are sitting there saying, I think somebody said earlier that Couturier had a good period. And, Vinny mentioned that Abels, he just put up on the comment that Abels looked decent. I don't know how you could adjudicate any player for anything that they did in that period. Like, I just thought it was just a bad period of hockey. I don't know. We're vamping until Glenn gets up here.
I looked at
the Flyers are escorting him up. We're waiting for him to get here.
I looked at Anthony 5 minutes into the period, and I said, you can forget about those high-scoring games in this one.
Now, Bundy at one point looked at me and goes, this game's going to be 1-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an ugly... It's not even like it was a miserable period. It really just felt like two teams going through the motions. I know that sometimes the Flyers have had a hard time in the first period of games, like really getting going. But this wasn't even like a case where you had one team is more dominant.
No.
And just like putting the clamps on the opposition.
It doesn't help any, and I'll be honest that this is, look, Bundy, I don't think we've ever asked this question.
Ooh.
I get the sense that in a game like this where it's not a well-attended game, and folks, it's not a well-attended game tonight for whatever reason. It could be weather-related, people not wanting to come out in the cold. I
always think it's because when the Eagles are in a run like this, I always find it's a little harder.
Yeah, that too. Does that ever impact the play on the ice?
No.
The fact that it's that quiet in the building?
No, never. The players won't really notice unless it's dead silent. Then some guys would, that's where a fight used to come about, right? Get the building going. Two guys would say it's lifeless, and that's where two guys would go out and have a fight and then get the building going a little bit and jumping. But there was nothing like that. There wasn't a hit.
No, that period was.
There wasn't. I mean, if somebody actually. I counted one hit in that period. Risto.
There was one in a corner over here.
Risto had a hit in the corner. That was it. That was the one hit.
I
mean, to be able to count the hits in that period without a computer and watching one single guy do what he does is almost impossible, but yet both teams were capable of doing it. It was a no-hitter. It was a regroup period, and there was not a whole lot of pucks put to the front of the net. I mean, that's your meat and potatoes for both teams. If you can't get the puck to the front of the net with traffic, you're going to have trouble scoring goals.
And I want you to read this one and comment on it.
Hey, at least the camera position was fixed. It wasn't. It wasn't fixed. No, I slid down closer to Bundy, and Russ slid closer to me because we're expecting Glenn to come on as our guest. So we wanted to kind of create, a little bit more room to have a fourth person on the thing. But we did not fix the camera thing. No, it was not fixed.
Poor intern. We promised that we were going to be nice to each other in 2025, and we have done a very good job of it. But sometimes we make it hard on ourselves.
Well, why don't we, since we're waiting for Glenn, we don't want to lose out on stat of the night.
Oh, I guess, he's going to have to move over here, and he has his computer over there. Do you have your stat of the night in your head?
Yeah.
Sí, está en tu cerebro, ¿sí?
We got to adjust the camera.
Oh my gosh.
So he's got to adjust the camera for himself. There we go. Now he's coming back.
This morning's show.
Primo numero dos.
Primo numero dos.
It's the only Spanish I know.
Oh, he remembered to turn on his mic. All right, go ahead, intern.
Hello, everybody.
So you got a stat of the night, and you're going to do it from memory
What's up,
instead of
Pierre?
using on your computer, huh?
Yeah, scary. We'll get through it together.
Glenn's here.
though.
Get out. I'm just kidding. Read your lecture.
So I'm wearing, excuse me, wearing my Army sweatshirt that my sister got me for Christmas. It says Beat Navy. Didn't go well this year, but I wanted to take this time to wish her a happy birthday. It's her 26th birthday today.
Oh,
So
happy
shout out to
birthday.
my sister, Kaylin, who
Happy
was
birthday,
born
Kaylin.
January 21st, 1999, and went back and looked, and Bundy, you and your Flyer teammates defeated the Washington Capitals that night 4-1.
Wow.
I love that. And you guys were 4-0 against the Capitals that year. Did you know that?
How about that?
Yeah, so my
1999, yeah.
sister was born and immediately was 1-0 against the Flyer or against
Good
the Capitals
stuff.
in her life.
Great stuff.
So let me see. Carl Dykhouse scored. Lindros scored. Damon
Langkow?
and then Michael something. Renberg?
Renberg.
Yes. So those were the 4 goal
Oh,
scorers.
yeah, Michael Renberg. How he wasn't here long, was he?
No idea.
I forgot about him.
And then the 2 goalies were Ole Kolzig and Ron Hextall. So that was
Okay.
Kaylin's first ever hockey game.
Wow, that was good. Carl Dykhouse scoring a goal, though.
How about that?
That
Good
didn't
job,
happen
Dyke.
that often.
Not a ball. Good stat.
That 98-99 team, was that the team that lost to Buffalo in the first round?
Yes.
Right?
99-2000. No, I thought we played. No. 99-2000 was a good run
Conference-
against
that was
where we lost to the
conference
conference finals. And 98-99 was we lost to Buffalo, I think, in the first round.
Buffalo first round, 5 games, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
that was bad.
Yeah, that was the Dave Babich, I think, was on that team.
He was. Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah.
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 Might have actually scored a goal in that Game 5 playoff game,
I think he did.
if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Can I just bring up really quickly that once again, intern fails to know something about Flyers
Let's hear it.
history?
Yes.
Michael Renberg, the Legion of Doom. Like, no, he doesn't know who Renberg is.
Are you serious?
I'm just missing.
I said Renberg. He goes, I have no idea.
Yeah, when he said Renberg, he doesn't know the Legion of Doom. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Anything before 2000,
What are we
buddy,
doing?
you don't have a clue.
Look who's joining us.
There he is.
The prof. The prof is with us.
What are you guys gesticulating about?
We're talking hockey, Glenn.
Oh,
Our
there you go.
intern, you'll like this one, Glenn. Our intern, Andrew, who we love, by the way,
Yeah.
Great guy.
was not really familiar with Michael Renberg. Did not know who Michael Renberg was.
They're kids these days, huh?
Kids these days.
we tell him
Wow.
about the Forsberg trade or no?
Yeah, he didn't even know the Flyers traded Peter Forsberg as part of the Eric Lindros trade either.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah, he's a little behind.
I remember that day. I was at the Montreal Forum when. Oh, can I tell you a quick? You didn't introduce me or anything, but hi, I'm Glenn Macnow. Nice to join
well,
you
we were
guys.
going to do that.
Everybody knows it already.
who you
Oh,
are.
okay. Oh, I
Somebody's
didn't know.
rusty
Okay.
over
there.
So, I was writing for the Inquirer at the time, and they sent me up to cover that draft. Imagine newspapers had the money to do that.
Right.
And I see Jay Snyder on the floor of the Montreal Forum, and he's really upset. And it's like, what's he doing? And I knew Jay at the time, and again, different time, I snuck down onto the floor of the Forum. I said, what's going on? And he said, we traded for Eric Lindros, the rights to Eric Lindros, but the idiot, what was his name, Abu?
Obu.
Marcel Abu.
Marcel Abu.
Yeah.
Traded him to the Rangers an hour after we got him, and I don't know what we're going to do. And there was a moment where I was the only person who knew that story for like several hours. But at the time, writing for the Inquirer, there was nothing. There was no sports radio. There was no social media.
Yeah.
So I had the greatest scoop, and I never got to use it.
Could you imagine if you had Twitter back then?
Oh God, I would have been the one.
You would have been the guy.
Would have been
would've
out
been-
there 3 seconds later.
I would have had it out there.
Glenn, it's great. It's great to have you on. First
you.
time on our show.
Although
which is awesome.
I do watch and follow your show. You guys do a great job.
Love it. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Glenn.
much. We appreciate that. A really cool thing for the Flyers to honor you here tonight. They did a nice little presentation before the game. They gave you your own jersey with the
Yeah.
number 38 for the 38 years.
Yeah, that I worked in this town.
Yeah, that you worked here. And they did a little.
I thought the year he was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
been a while.
But,
nice to see you too, Chris.
I love you, Prof.
Yeah,
you know
love
that,
you.
buddy.
but really kind of a cool thing, and the Flyers had gotten away from that for a little bit, but that's one of the cool things that Keith Jones and Dan Hilferty have really brought back to this organization.
I mean, I was really honored. When I retired last July, Jonesy came to my retirement show, and he said to me, we'll do something for you this year. And I thought, okay. And it kind of slipped my mind, and they reached out to me last month, and they said, we'd like to invite you and your family and all your friends, and you have a box, and you'll have meet up with Jonesy and Hilferty and Danny Briere before the game and blah, blah, blah. And they let me pick this night, which I was very happy to do Pride Night. And, they've just treated me royally, and I'm flattered and honored and a little embarrassed.
I will say when I was playing, players, not a lot of people know this, but players do listen to sports talk radio when there was no Twitter or anything. And I used to listen to Glenn on the way home, and a lot of guys did. I used to think I was a lone soldier doing that, but players do listen, and I always appreciate it. Glenn, not a lot of people know this. The first media of any kind I did in my life, I just retired, and I did the NHL draft the year Van Riemsdyk was drafted. That was my first show with Glenn Macnow.
Yeah.
The very first media thing I ever did.
Over in Jersey, right? We did it at...
we actually did it at the studio at Bala.
Okay, we did that one.
Yeah.
But then I remember we did it, we did a few
of them. We did some sandwich shows and stuff. And we've done a lot over the years. But you always gave me my first start, Glenn, and I won't forget that. So
I appreciate it. And I told you I thought you were good from the start, and I meant it. And it was fun to work with you those first couple of shows. You know what I remember? The Flyers would lose like 2-1. And I'd be doing the postgame at that time, and somebody's like, "Yeah, they lost it because of that stupid Therien." And I'd say, "He wasn't even on the ice for either of the goals against. What are you talking about?"
It's a rough town.
I defended you in those days.
I know it's a rough town, but that's the worst when you get hammered for something you never had anything to do with it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the post-radio life, because a lot of your contemporaries, and then some who were kind of in that next wave, have left or have ended up off air. They all kind of...
Well put.
They kind of have tried to get back in after they've said that they were going to be done. A couple of them have kind of transitioned, and they're finding varying degrees of success, if we want to call it that. What has kept you from following suit? Is it you got to leave kind of on your own terms, and you're
just happy to be done? That's a big part of it. I really appreciate how the station... I knew when I was done, for whatever reasons, and I decided, you know what, this is when I want to leave. I talked to the station, my contract was coming up. I said, I'll work a couple months past that, but that's it. And what's kept me going is, a few things. I had an exit strategy. I knew I didn't want to, I didn't want to retire from radio and do a podcast about sports, because I did that forever. I have a TV show about beer, which is a fun thing to do. I get to act with Anthony SanFilippo on stage. That's a fun thing to do.
January 31st to February 15th at the Players Club of Swarthmore.
Network. Yeah. Great cast.
By the way, aren't we supposed to be at rehearsal tonight?
Yeah, yes, and I could use it.
Oops.
And I've traveled, and I've found a lot of fun. I'm writing a book about my family's history. And you know what I've really enjoyed this year, Russ? Being a casual fan who can watch a game, not have to have an opinion, not have to go on Twitter every 2 minutes, just enjoy the game. And I've enjoyed, just for the first time in 4 decades, just being a fan.
Is that the most liberating feeling?
Yeah. It's great. Listen, I loved my job. I loved my career. But just being able to let a game wash over me is so different and fun.
You are very much a sportsman, Glenn, and not just a hockey guy, but you were one of the prominent players in this city that did cover hockey. I notice every year around this time, your dad, Marv.
Yeah.
It feels as perennial as the Red Sox losing the World Series, watching you and your dad with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Glenn's from Buffalo.
Yep.
Dad's still a diehard Bills fan. What is that like every year, going through that?
By the way, just so people know, I was at the Fog game. I was a fan.
Is that right?
I was a fan at the game where the Flyers beat the Sabres for the Cup. Broke my heart at the time. Listen, the Eagles are in it, so I want the Eagles to win.
Yeah.
I really do. But my dad is 94. He's doing okay, but the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
I would love for my dad's sake, for those Buffalo Bills to win him a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That would be the coolest
Yeah.
thing.
It'd be the greatest.
It's cool every year you honor him, and you're just, and he's got the same smile. He's just
He
like,
does.
I'm hoping,
And you know what?
but I don't expect anything.
It's always at the end. He goes, "Well, there's always next year."
Yeah.
And I go, "Dad, keep thinking that way. Dad, keep thinking that way."
Glenn, I want to ask you one thing because we're wrapping up here. We got
Yeah.
2 minutes before the second period starts. Just, over the course of your 38 years here, you did tell one story there about the Lindros scoop, but did you have another, like, Flyers-related story that sticks out to you? Maybe a memory from WIP that sticks out to you that you remember the most?
What I remember is the year they went to the Cup, the Lindros, when they went to the
97.
Cup. 97. How we were so into it, and every show we were doing was hockey, and the whole town. I mean, it's not a specific moment, but it's that postseason run, how this town became. It always was a hockey town, but it became the thing where everybody was into it, and it dominated everything. And for what, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
It was all we did, and it was a blast. I've loved hockey since I was a little boy. I played it as a kid, not well, but I played it. I've coached a little youth hockey. It's just always been a thing. And when the Flyers owned this town, it was phenomenal. And I would love to see it get back to that.
I think that there's a
Yeah.
chance eventually.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
The direction
Hey.
is going the right way.
Yeah.
But if not, there's always next year.
Thank you.
Wait till
Lesson
next
from
year.
Marv.
That's lessons from Mark.
Thank you,
Glenn
Mark.
Macnow.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
you
for coming
Thanks,
on.
Glenn.
It was
Yeah.
great to have you on the show.
Yeah,
and
I'll see you tomorrow,
I'll
yeah.
see you tomorrow. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
We have less than a minute left here. A big thank you to Glenn Macnow for
Thanks,
joining
Glenn.
the
Yep.
show today. Bundy, I will throw this back to you. The same question that I asked you prior to the first period. Let me even simplify it. What's one thing that we can look for in this second period, other than it hopefully going just as fast as the first, if it's going to be that contactless?
More net front presence. I mean, if you're talking about the game in general, for both teams, more net front presence. I mean, I want to see the Flyers win. I also want to see a very competitive hockey game. We didn't see any of that in the first period. Let's see if both teams can ramp it up here a little bit, because that was a substandard period in many, many, many facets.
All right, we will be back in the, what was this? This was the first intermission. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Second intermission and post game here on Snow the Goalie's YouTube channel, as well as on Facebook and X. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. We'll be back. Second intermission. There goes Bundy. Here we go. Bye-bye.
I got to give you credit, Russ. You were able to kill a minute and a half there by delaying the start of the second intermission show.
No, it was not at my request.
He's trying to match the energy on the ice.
Holy cow! Like
No,
we
here,
needed
wait,
it because
let's
I'm
match
trying
the
to-
energy. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one. Actually, we can't even say number one. It's just welcome into the Press Row Show.
Yeah. Look, we had a goal and a penalty that period,
Wow.
but that's about all we could say for it, right, Bundy?
Very similar to the first, complete no-hitter. I mean, there's no body banging going on. There's nothing like even in the similar like that. They're just trying to play a game of stick hockey with a puck out there. There's no competitiveness. There's no juice or jam or anybody going to the front of the net. It's been painful to watch, to be honest with you, so far for both teams. It's one of those nights that happens as a January game, but man, it's brutal when it happens.
And I will say, Flyers are winning. Detroit was better that period.
They were better. They had better puck possession in the zone, but not a whole lot to. I mean, maybe a couple long distance shots, but nothing in tight, really. I mean, not much at all.
It's
Bob Wright asks a good question, Bundy. Let's try to add some energy here. Bob Wright asks, what would Hitch have said about the lack of energy tonight?
We got to get our rear ends moving here. This isn't the ice capades. That's exactly what he would say.
And what would you guys say back to him about getting rear ends moving?
Nothing. Just wait for him to leave the room. That was
So
about
good.
it. Yeah,
So
I mean,
good.
it wasn't. This is one of those games. I mean, your team's up 1-0, but if you're the coach, you're probably going to pull your own hair out of your head. The good thing is they got the 1-0 lead, and believe me, in a game like this, that is imperative.
It was a nice play.
It was a beautiful play. Nice finish by Farabee.
Couturier makes a really nice play to get the puck and then to get it to Farabee, and then Farabee makes a really nice move to score the goal. It's the highlight of the night. There's nothing else to talk about. Like
Not a whole lot going on. No.
there was the one power play, and it was the Rocky Thompson horror show.
Shirts soon available at shop.snowthegoalie.com.
Like they didn't even set up. I don't even think did they even set up on that power play at any point?
No.
Like, I didn't think they even set up.
It's pathetic.
So it's just brutal.
I'm so sick of the power play.
It's cold
I
down
am
here.
so sick of the excuses.
Like Bundy,
Put my jacket on.
Bundy, beyond. I mean, tell everybody you're wearing long johns tonight.
I
too,
have
right?
long johns on. Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
It's so.
You wanna show 'em to the
cold
crowd?
in here.
My toes are literally frozen right now.
It's unbelievably cold in the building.
It's so cold because there aren't that many people here to warm it up with their, 98.6 or so body temperature.
It's just bad.
It's a cold
The
building.
most energetic and passionate thing to happen in that period was the thing that I typically hate, but I will allow because there's a playoff game this weekend. And it was the...
It was the Eagles cheer.
It was the Eagles chant. And it happened in the lower bowl. I swear it's as if 90% of the people at the game tonight are unaware that they're at a game tonight.
Yeah, but to answer Vinit's question, he asked about did Lyon. I'll put it up.
Yeah, he said, did Lyon completely stone TK on that pass from Frost?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He missed.
Yeah, TK didn't get the shot on. Look, we didn't see a replay, but they didn't give him credit for a shot because the Flyers had 11 shots at that point and still have 11 shots. So he did not get credit for a shot in that spot.
Greg Bondarenko's also incorrect. Says you guys can head home and finish the show at home. Based on how fast the other periods have gone, maybe you guys would get home in time. I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe we should.
It's true.
We could just bail now.
We definitely would make it home.
Do post.
Would anybody know? Would anybody know?
No.
Well, who define anybody? Would the organization be like, where'd those guys go?
Yeah, where are they at?
Where they at?
We also didn't see the replay up here because, of course, we have no real replays up here other than what they decide to show everyone in the building. On Forster getting hit by the puck, I didn't see if it
I think
was.
It was a puck,
It was
yeah.
a puck, yeah.
No, but I didn't see where it got him. Did it get him in the mouth?
Got him right in
Yeah.
the mouth area.
Yeah. Saw him a couple chiclets.
Maybe.
Probably lost there.
Poor guy.
Yeah, that
He's
sucks.
a hockey player.
To lose those chiclets in a meaningless game against the Red Wings, not even a
That was the
hard-fought-
hardest. That was the hardest hit of the game. Was the puck hitting his mouth?
It's the truth, though. It's the truth.
Yeah, there's not. I'm just the pace of this game for two teams that are so desperate for the 2 points. It's not a game where there's just a ton of fight. It's a weird game. I don't understand it, but it's a strange game tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with this game. But for both teams, like you would think, both of these teams look at this and say, we're in competition with each other, right? Trying to scramble to get into that one of those last 2 playoff spots, the wild card spots. You would think there would be a little bit more juice to it. Even if you have bad play, at least have a little bit of energy, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's missing too. And that's what okay, you have a feeling out first period, fine. But to have a second period just as bad as the first, it's just head scratching.
Yeah,
a little bit.
by both teams.
Yeah,
it's
both
not one
teams.
or it's just the way the game's being played tonight, and there's no juice, there's nothing. They're going through the motions, and the Flyers, to their credit, have the lead, and that's a good thing.
Tony Louie here does have a good point. Says the difference between Tippett when he's on versus when he's off is night and day. How can he have games where he shows high-end skill and speed to what we're seeing tonight? He's so inconsistent.
I'll say this about tonight, Tony Louie. I felt like he's actually had a couple of good shifts and just went back into the I can't hit the net.
Yeah, he missed
mode.
the net a couple times.
Times. Like, he's had chances. And, like, oh, okay, there you go. And then just flat out misses the net. He flubbed a one-timer from the right circle, and then he had that chance on the left side that just flat out missed the net. He cut in from the half wall and just shot it wide from a high leverage scoring chance spot. And that's the thing with him. It's not that he's. I mean, I guess there's been games where he's disappeared, but there's a lot of games where he's noticeable in a positive way with speed, but then his inability to finish or even come close to finishing is what's maddening when you watch it, right?
Yep.
Solar Warden here with a really good note from the out-of-town broadcast. Says it's actually hilarious. The Wings broadcasters seem to think this is a fast-paced game and have made several remarks about it.
Talk about gaslighting your viewers, right? I mean, holy cow. That is nothing like that tonight. I mean, Bundy talked about it. It's one reload after another.
It's just one reload after another. And then when there's nothing up the middle of the ice, they cycle the puck backwards again, and then everybody has to get back and regroup again. It's being played this is very much a European-style hockey game tonight.
Yeah.
If you watch the Premier League over in Europe tonight, one of their leagues, this would look similar to it. No hits. Guys are trying to make skill plays when there's not that kind of game. This is a bread and butter type of game. At the first team that decides, and the Flyers, luckily I said, have that 1-goal lead. The first team that decides that they really want to put a staple in this game, get a guy to drive the front of the net. There's been no net drive anywhere over the ice. And if the Flyers want to pack a couple more goals on and get out of this thing with a win, because at this point I don't care about what the game looks like, I care about the points at the end of this one. The Flyers need to drive a man to the front of the net with straight conviction. There's no guessing what he's trying to do. You got to know what he's going to do.
All right, you know what? Let's try to ramp up the energy on the show, and that, of course, means we're going to go to a very well-loved, appreciated, beloved segment here on the show in the second intermission, and that, of course, is when we bring intern Andrew on to do nothing other than trivia time with intern Andrew. Guys, do you have your instruments ready?
Ready.
Yes.
1, 2, skiddly diddly do.
Thank you. So
That was actually very well done.
it was.
We're getting better.
We're getting better. There was good chemistry there. So I think that whenever Patrick Kane comes back here, it always brings up pretty sore memories for us because of the 2010 Game 6 Stanley Cup winning goal. So now that we're almost like 15 years later, Patrick Kane has now scored or assisted on 210 game-winning goals in his career, which is good for third all-time among U.S.-born skaters. You know who 1 and 2 are.
Goals and assists that were game-winning goals.
I got to say Pat LaFontaine.
No.
Well, that's a good guess.
It's a good, yeah.
I'm going to
Was
go
Johnny?
Mike Modano.
He's number 1.
Brett Hull.
No.
No.
LeClaire?
Nope.
JR?
It's Jeremy Roenick.
Ah! Boy, that was a quick one. Do you have another trivia question?
There's one. I'll be stunned if you get it.
Go ahead.
Is he doubting us? Does he not have pride in our ability to answer these questions?
So, how do you pronounce this? Rodrigo Abels?
Abels.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Abels, yeah.
Playing in his first NHL game tonight. He is the oldest player to make his NHL debut with the Flyers since November of 2017. Somebody was 29 years old, 29 years and 188 days old. That made his debut with the Flyers in 17.
2017?
Yeah,
Ooh.
Did he come from the Phantoms?
I believe so, yes.
All right, hold on. This is the year before we started doing the show together. That was a Hextall year.
Yeah, this is a good one. You'll say it and I'll be like, oh, wow, yeah, of
Hold
course.
on.
Is he 30 yet?
No, well, he would have been 29 in 2017.
No, I mean the player here, Abels.
He's 29 years and 16 days.
Okay.
This guy that you're trying to get, he played one NHL game in his life.
Oh,
That's why I said I didn't think he'd...
Yeah, I won't get it.
can we get initials?
Defenseman or forward?
Forward, I believe.
What round was he drafted in?
I have no idea.
A forward, huh?
But he only played one game.
Oh, I lied. He's defenseman.
A
He
def-
was, he was selected by the
Remember the
Atlanta
goalie?
Thrashers in the 7th round of the 2006 draft.
Oh, I like our chances on this one.
It's
I need initials.
W.O.
Will O'Neill.
Yes.
Wow.
Come on.
Will O'Neill.
Remember that guy? I remember, yeah.
Holy
I was gonna say
Yeah,
Will.
Shaquille's brother.
Played in one game.
Will O'Neill.
I remember the name, but I was going to say Rob Zepp, the goalie that played one game, and I remember asking him after, I was like, does that feel like climbing Mount Everest? Like he got to the top of his NHL career in Winnipeg. He started a game, and I remember it was an unbelievable story.
Oh, apparently they said it on the broadcast. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even know that.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, as soon as you said I don't know why that came in my head right away.
That was good.
That's a good one, yeah.
I have an issue here, and I brought it up before, and I have to be honest here, okay? The picture that I saw of Rodrigo Abels from on the bench or whatever, I just want people to take a little goosey gander at it. Let me see if I can actually pull up the image
So
itself.
this photo, it's an older photo, I think, because
yeah,
he looks
it very much is.
he
but
looks thinner now. But this photo, Bundy, when Russ puts up, looks like Darius Kasparaitis to me.
Okay, who? And it's going to be who?
This is Abels.
Okay. He does look like Darius Kasparaitis, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what I think he looks like? An intern would get this. He looks like when you simulate, a franchise mode on an NHL game, and you get like 10 years down the line and it just starts auto-generating random players. And there's like a guy who played like on the 4th line in like the 2038 Flyers. That's who I would expect to see.
Was Will O'Neill's game against St. Louis by some chance?
If that's right, Bundy, if you get that, if that's correct, it's unbelievable.
What was the question?
Is he right?
It was at St. Louis.
Yeah.
How do you remember that?
This freaking
I'm telling you
elephant
guys,
brain.
It's ridiculous. I live like this.
How do you it's one thing to pull the name, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing here. I
No, I
didn't
know
pick
you
anything
didn't.
up.
You didn't look it up, right? I absolutely didn't look it up.
Were you calling the game?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yes, I remember St. Louis, and I remember thinking to myself, the Flyers have zero chance of winning this hockey game. Zero. And they won the hockey game. You can check the score. I know they won the hockey game on the road. I think they might have won it handily, as a matter of fact. Like if you saw the lineup, they had injuries. They had to play Will O'Neill.
Oh, hang on.
See if you can find
Give me
it.
a
But
second.
anyway,
Yeah, he'll find it. He'll find it.
you got a couple minutes.
Andrew Fawcett called you Rain Man, and I think that's.
No, he said you're better than Rain Man.
Oh yeah, it's true. Greater than Rain Man.
I did see a comment there that said we should host a trivia night, a Flyers trivia night.
That'd be good. I have
We
a guy,
should
by the
work-
way. I have a friend of mine that owns the Black Sheep
Yeah.
down in Rittenhouse. He wants to do a road show.
Okay.
So
We
I
could-
think
maybe
we
we
got to
do-
do it. We got to do another road show, and we absolutely have got to have this damn tailgate.
Okay.
We need to have the tailgate before the end of the year, or I'm going to do it myself. I'll go buy the food myself if I have to.
They beat St. Louis 2-0.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shut him out with Will O'Neill on the line.
yeah.
Will O'Neill, absolute stud.
That's crazy that one game. He played in one game, and you remembered who they were playing against.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Does he even remember that?
It's my curse, I told you. It is. It's no one remembering stuff like I got. It's fun, but it's crazy too.
You see
Will
these
O'Neal.
lightsabers they have over here?
Yeah.
They're usually orange, but they're very long lightsabers that they put over by the organ.
Well, they're not really lightsabers.
They look like lightsabers. They're LED columns.
Yeah, they're
Should we,
shutting them
can we
off
borrow them? We should borrow. Oh, he's trying to show them. Like, get it, Andrew. There you go. Look at it.
Yeah.
Like, what if we wave in airplanes this way? You know? Right? No. All right, we'll be back post-game here on Snow the Goalie on YouTube, X, and Facebook. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. We'll try to give you some actual hockey analysis post-game, but in fairness, we kind of need the game to be a little bit better than what it has been so far.
How do you think I feel having to write the AP story on this?
I feel like you feel like you're
On
going to
this
get paid
nothing
money
burger.
to write about this game, and it's going to be fun.
You're right about Will O'Neal.
We'll be doing
can't do
the
that one.
12 minutes tonight, and Anthony's going to be writing the story, and he's going to say goodnight to everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's really it. Because I don't even know what the hell I'm going to write at this point.
Right about Will O'Neal. It's been covered. All right, we will talk to
See you,
all of
yeah.
you post-game here on the Press Row Show. yes, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. This side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state, Greenland, and south of the 52nd state, Canada. And allegedly, Rasmus Ristolainen scored the overtime winner, but really it wasn't Risto. Detroit scored in their own net to wrap up overtime. It was, Risto's going to get...
Moritz Seider that tried to just one-hand it. I think he put it in, but they sure were... Sounds like they took a second to look at it, and they were pretty definitive with Risto, the way Lou Nolan called the goal out. Took them 2 minutes, so I don't know. But I don't really care. They got the win. It was not pretty, but they'll take the win.
It was an ugly game all the way around. I kept joking with intern Andrew that I thought that there was like the karmic payoff that we were going to get for such a quick first period was like a 12-round shootout. And it's funny, too, like Detroit ends up losing that game. But in fairness, like they conceded that game. You know what I mean, Bundy? Like they had moments in that game, especially in overtime, where Detroit looked like they were just collecting it. They were playing for the shootout. They were making no effort in the last minute and a half to try to get anything going. They had one play. They had one crash play.
They went into a prevent, Russ. And a prevent prevents you from winning. That's exactly what happened. Detroit, they kept circling back. I mean, they did. They looked like the Russian Red Army team tonight. They didn't. Not a lot going forward. They had a lot of regroups. Good win by the Flyers. They will gladly take this 2 points because, like Anthony said before the game, and I kind of felt it too, I didn't think it was going to be as easy a game as it was last time. And the Flyers give them credit. They did find a way to do it in what was not their best effort tonight.
I just want to point out, this is the first time in a very long time where all four of us picked the Flyers to win.
Yes.
They did walk away with a win, skate away with a win. Intern Andrew's score is technically the closest, 3-2. I believe Ant thought it was going to be a very high-scoring game. It certainly was not.
I was wrong.
Farabee had himself a pretty solid game and a nice OT there, a nice setup. Is he right now, Bundy, the best Joel in Philadelphia?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
610-632.
There's no doubt he's the best Joel in Philadelphia right now. If it's what have you done for me lately, there's no doubt that Joel Farabee eclipses any other Joel in this city. It's not close.
Corey,
you got to play to actually make it count the other way. Yeah.
Corey over on YouTube says, Ersson made some clutch saves and boneheaded mistakes. What was your assessment of the #1 netminder's job in net tonight?
Overplayed the puck a couple times, got himself into trouble. He threw one up the middle where they almost, Sanheim made a really nice play on Patrick Kane. Otherwise, it was a tap in one, like little easy little pass that he made over to the side, and Sanheim just got his stick on Kane's stick at the right time and saved the goal, or Detroit probably would have won this hockey game. But I made some, it was a little bit, it got a little bit kind of crazy sometimes in and around the crease. There were some scrambles. It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. I mean, I'm not going to, can't kill Sam. He played a good game again. He made some really critical saves, too, at that time in the hockey game, at critical times in the game, and gets off with another 1 goal against in this hockey game.
I wanted to go over to the comments here because Jay Grebby pointing out that the vibes are immaculate. The building was late on the overtime goal. I would say that for much of the game, much of overtime, it was just a very quiet crowd tonight.
Very quiet crowd.
In fairness, I don't think either team really gave the fans much to cheer about. There was the frustrating goal in the third where the Flyers, despite the fact that it was a pretty lackluster game, they did have a lead. They blow it 30 seconds into the third. Was it? Yeah. Or was it the second? No, it was the third. Was it the second? It was the third.
It was a minute and a half into the third period.
Yeah. No, it was 30 seconds in.
30 seconds in?
Yeah.
That much? Yeah.
Yeah. It was unbelievably quick. The building was quiet. They kind of got up at different points in the third and a couple of times in OT, and then obviously with the game-winning goal, the crowd got loud. What do you think led to it tonight? Is it just because it was cold? Is it because the crowd was just smaller tonight? Like what do you attribute it to?
I think both teams realizing they needed points. I think they both played in a kind of in a defensive mode. There wasn't a lot of push either way. We're afraid of making mistakes. That may be part of it. There was just not a lot of pace to this hockey game. It happens some nights. I mean, you play 82 games, and some nights are going to be rough nights.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But this was an outstanding win, really, at the end of the day. They didn't play their best game. They still found a way to win. I thought Detroit had a great second period. They had a little flurry at the end as well. They had some chances before the end of the before they went to the overtime period. And it was a solid win. You can't take anything away about it. The Flyers weren't as solid as they were against New Jersey in terms of clamping down defensively, which we talked about, but they still did a decent enough job. It was a chess match tonight. The Flyers came out on top.
EC Dub in WWF asks, the Flyers played a very disciplined game, no penalties. Was it disciplined or biased officiating?
Well, you have to have some willingness to hit to have penalties.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're gonna have no penalties. There was one penalty issued in the game. It was to Detroit, I believe, in the second period. Flyers didn't have much to show for it, but it was just one of those type of games, Russ.
Okay. There was something else that I wanted to get to that was up a little bit higher. People kind of praising Cates and how Cates played on Larkin tonight.
Cates did a good job on Larkin. Cates does a good job on any guy he gets a matchup against. He does. He's a very, very, very good defensive forward.
Is he the guy that you think has taken the biggest step?
No doubt.
Yeah.
I think he's been one of the most important players on the team this year. The way that he's evolved, the way that he checks. I mean, if he came out of the lineup now, you'd notice.
Yeah.
You'd notice the team if he were out of the lineup. Anthony's still doing a story right here.
He is. I don't think we're going to have him for postgame. You know what bothers me, though? And we love Ant. We love him a lot. He's sitting in the middle of postgame while writing the story.
Should I stand on
Just-
the other side?
I think if you would just switch places with Bundy postgame, it would make sense. And you would just kind of zoom, kind of like bring the camera in a little bit.
But sometimes I do talk during this thing.
But you're not talking right
Like
now.
right
Dave.
now.
Well, can you take 20 seconds away from your AP story and offer your thoughts before we?
I'm on deadline.
Well, this is on a deadline. Do you think Bundy wants to sit here for 20 more minutes?
Bundy doesn't. You guys don't have to wait for me.
Well, we appreciate you, and we want to have your, your thoughts on the record here for the post game crowd who are watching live and those who listen after the fact in the podcast feed. You got to bring it closer to you.
It was a game. Is that good enough?
That was
It was a game.
A game was played.
a game was played. A game was
it
won by the Flyers.
I'll give Joel Farabee credit. I think he had a pretty good game. I think Noah Cates had a solid game. Urson was okay. He was pretty good. What else you want?
Farabee had a good game.
I said Farabee.
Yeah,
That was the
Farabee.
first one,
Is that the level of insight that people can expect from the Associated Press story tomorrow?
When it's only 300 words? Yep.
I thought Sanheim had a good game. I thought Risto had a good game. I thought Drysdale played pretty well.
Rasmus Ristolainen scored the game-winning goal in overtime.
Do not read it out loud.
Well, I mean, that's how. I mean, in fairness, that's how any AP story would start. Oh, well, it's like having a pre-draft. Someday, like 100 years from now, when you're gone, when we're all gone, people will pull back the Anthony SanFilippo archives, and they're going to have his initial drafts to the Associated Press. And when the world has ended because of global warming, and everyone's trying to figure out what this language was, they'll see Anthony's drafts. They'll have no idea what any of it means, but they'll have them.
Still home before Bleu Nuit, as one of our Ed said there tonight. Bleu Nuit.
Bundy's there. ECWWF says Glenn McNow is the first star of the game. For those who missed it, he joined us for the first intermission show. Probably clip that up and add it to the podcast feed as well, but you can always watch that on YouTube. You just kind of have to scrub around in the video. Bunny, is there anything else
No.
that you want to get to? Okay.
No, I think we covered a lot in the intermissions, and there wasn't a whole lot of a wrap-up. I mean, Flyers won 2-1 in overtime. Was not the greatest game played. See ya, Mike. Have a good night, buddy. Great job
The best
on that organ
organist.
tonight.
I know they announced Lauren Hart as the number one anthemist, but truly the number one organist in the National Hockey League.
Great
This is
job,
our guy,
Mike.
Mike.
Great job.
Part of the extended Snow the Goalie cinematic universe here, as Bundy has pointed out before. Flyers have a little jaunt coming up to the Empire State.
Yeah, Rangers seem to be figuring stuff out. Me and Anthony were talking about that. They were up 5-0. I don't know if that was a final on Ottawa, but it was 5-0, his final. So they're getting their stuff together a little bit. Now it should make for good hockey. And then, was it the Islanders again?
Islanders on Friday, so they go back-to-back. It's
New York,
Rangers.
New York special.
Yeah, it is. And then they play in Jersey on Monday. Or sorry, they're home against Jersey on Monday.
Yeah.
And then they're back at Jersey. So it's a home and home Monday and Wednesday of next week. So we won't have a Press Row show for everyone for about a week. we did do a new Snow the Goalie, which if you somehow missed it, is available in your podcast feed. It's available on YouTube, X, and Facebook. We'll probably figure something out by the end of the week. We might clip up some other stuff. We'll throw some stuff on the YouTube channel and maybe in the feed, but hope you enjoyed that episode. That was a lot of fun this morning.
Yeah,
We got into a bunch of different stuff. I think that's probably it. Is there anything else you want to get
No,
to?
all good, man.
Can I say one thing real fast?
Intern
I kind
pipe
of dropped the ball earlier today
Okay.
because I made my stat of the night about how January 21st is my sister's birthday. Somehow this piece of information went completely under my radar. Today's the 30-year anniversary of Chris Therien's first ever NHL game, and I had no idea.
Somebody put that on Twitter earlier, and I saw it. I'm like, I actually said to the guy, "Thanks for sharing that stat. I never would have known." But yeah, I mean, of all the useless knowledge I have, I didn't even know this was the anniversary of
So
my first game.
I went back.
30 years.
I went back
It seems
and
like it
found
was
the game.
30 minutes ago. I could walk into the building again, like the Spectrum that day, and it was like it was 5 minutes ago. I'll never forget the drive over, the walking into the building, seeing my jersey hanging up, getting ready to play the Quebec Nordiques.
Correct. Do you remember the final score?
Yeah, we lost 3-1.
That's correct. I will say to your credit, you lost 3-1.
was plus one?
You were a +1 that night.
Yeah,
He knew he was a plus one. He knew he was a plus one. Like, it's one thing to remember your opponent. Like, obviously, you remember who you played
Yeah.
in your first game. But to remember that you were a +1.
Well, when you lose 3-1, and I remember we went to Boston 2 days later, and I was plus again, and the team we'd lost. Like we were 1-3 to start the season, and I think I was +2 after the 2 losses.
Wasn't your fault. Wasn't your
What was
fault.
that?
I got my guy.
That was the one, that was the one arena that I never got to cover a game in.
The
That
Garden?
that I wish in Quebec.
Boston. Oh, Quebec. Yeah,
That
yeah.
I
the
wish
Colisée.
I had a chance to cover a game in and I didn't. What
Yeah.
was that place like?
It was good. It was a
Yeah.
building. It was on top of you. The fans were crazy. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. And, they had great rivalries, too, with Montreal back in the 80s and the early 90s. So it was great. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I loved Quebec as a hockey city. It was great.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's fun. Good stuff. Bundy, you going to go on any national shows this week? You have any radio hits lined up? Or
No,
anything?
nothing. Just Flyers radio on Thursday, Friday night, and then back with you guys Monday.
All right. Make sure you support Bundy over on the radio. Because you guys stream that, too.
Yeah, I do the pregame radio every night.
Do you guys pull any comments up on the radio show? Or
No,
do you just
no.
have to, it's very...
See, what we
Very
do is
regimented,
we'll
right?
actually stream it to the Flyers broadcast channel.
Yeah.
And then we do radio. So I have this, and then I have a radio equipment as well.
Yeah.
So we're streaming and doing radio on 2 different devices. Yeah.
Interesting. Look at you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's high tech for me,
I was
but
going
I
to say,
figured out a way to do it. Yeah.
Mr. Tech over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
All right. Ant, you have anything lined up that you want to let the people know about?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Intern?
No, just happy that they got the win.
That's all you got for us? Like, you don't have any other thoughts?
Well,
Like,
I said the
What's
Bundy
your
thing.
biggest takeaway from tonight's game?
Kind of a rough night for Patrick Kane.
Okay.
I thought he was okay today.
But I'm saying the Urson giveaway right at the end of the third
yeah.
period. He just fanned on the shot. Would have won them the game.
Okay. What's your prediction the next 2 games they have in New York?